Hey everybody, it's Jason from the Texas Gun Vault 2, and we're back out here in the garage for another first impressions video. I took a couple of guns to the range today, and I wanted to share my experiences with them with you. Now, as always, when it comes to all of my first impressions videos, there's a caveat. I know based off of the title of this video, you might have clicked on it thinking, oh my gosh, this is a review. No, it is not a review. This is just my first impressions. And if you're new to my channel and new to the content that I create, this is the Texas Gun Vault 2. It's my behind the scenes channel for my biggest fans. If you're interested in seeing all of my proper range reports that are filmed with much nicer equipment, please check out the link in the description below to the Texas Gun Vault. You can also follow me on Instagram and on Facebook. So, what guns did I take to the range today? By the way, you won't see any shooting footage in this first impressions. That's all for the main channel. So I wanted to do three things today. I had a pistol and a rifle, and I guess I was going to do a product review on a scope. But I wasn't able to get to the scope because I guess there were just people, and well, I'll explain the story towards the end. Let's just talk about the guns first. Let's talk about the pistol. The first pistol that I want to talk about is on loan to the channel from my friend Jack number 1. And this is actually his wife's gun. This is the Smith Wesson 380 Shield EZ. And I believe this gun essentially is marketed to people that might be either novice shooters or people that are recoil sensitive or have difficulty racking the slide of most modern semi-automatic handguns. It's designed to be easy to manipulate, easy to use, and I discovered that I think it does its job very, very well. This is not a striker-fired pistol. I know it looks like a standard M&P, but it actually is a hammer-fired pistol. The hammer is internal. So using the old Colt nomenclature, it's hammerless, even though it has a hammer. We have a grip safety on the back instead of the blade or dingus safety in the trigger. And I have to tell you, this gun does its job. The magazines, which are single stack, are very easy to load. I believe it holds 8 rounds. You even have a loading assist. So on the side of the follower, you have these little tabs which will help you load it if you even need that extra help. Racking the slide is so easy. Like, I'm barely having to use any energy whatsoever. It does have a locking system, which means it doesn't have to have such a stout recoil spring because it stays locked. And it just is a very well-balanced gun. Good trigger. It feels in your hand like an M&P striker-fired gun. Very low recoil. For the most part, very accurate. I mean, it's not going to be like a 2011 competition pistol or a target pistol, but for a little 380, this thing's pretty darn awesome. I really have absolutely no complaints about it. It's going to get a 5 out of 5 star review. It's a great gun because it does what it's supposed to do, and it does that very, very well. The only thing I think after shooting it that I would like to see them add, and some of you might not like this, okay? And I actually have to go do some research. I know a lot of you guys are like, you need to go do research before you review guns. I take the guns to the range first, get my, first impressions, and then I do the research before I do the main review. But I would like to see a thumb safety on this gun. I'm going to assume they make one on some options. But I even think with the grip safety, I would like to see the blade or the dingus safety. And that might be a little bit on the redundant side. But my only thinking is this gun is so easy to use, so easy to rack, so easy to manipulate, so easy to control, that a novice shooter, someone that doesn't have the same level of experience that you or I do, might have a negligent discharge. And I would want to have as many safeties as possible between you and the gun going off. This grip safety works absolutely fantastic. And I feel very safe for someone like myself that's an experienced shooter, not having that blade safety, and because it does have this grip safety, it's going to be drop safe. But the blade safety, I think, would be a little bit better, because I think people that might gravitate towards this gun might, as I said, be novices, might pocket carry this, might put it into a purse, might put it into a bag without a holster. And any extra safety you could add, I think, would go a long way. But as the gun sits, 5 out of 5 stars. It does shoot a little bit to the left, but elevation is perfect. And looking at the sights from the top, the rear sight does look like it is a little bit off, and that's probably why it shoots just a little bit to the right. But good groups, no malfunctions, runs hollow points great. Okay, well, there might be one slight issue. When I did the, every test I used both magazines. On the hollow point test, on the second magazine, when I tried to load it, magazine went in, I pulled the slide back and let it go. It kind of caught on the feed ramp, or the first round, slightly, where I had to kind of nudge it into battery, but then it ran fine. So I think that's just going to be the gun more than the hollow points, because the recoil spring is not all that stout. Another thing that maybe would be a really cool upgrade to this gun would be to make it a staggered stack magazine, or accept a staggered stack magazine. Single stack, you only get 8 rounds. Double stack would make the gun too wide. But a staggered stack, that maybe if you could get 10, 11, maybe 12 rounds in a package about the same size, I think it would make this gun even more competitive in the marketplace that they're competing in. I also really like the fact that the slide does have these little winglets on the back. And of course, you have the cocking serrations here, and you have these little winglets back here, which help people get more purchase on that. What a great gun. What a great gun. This is awesome. Very impressed by it. I think this is the perfect gun for a new shooter, novice shooter, lady shooter, someone that would have a difficult time with a more powerful semi-automatic handgun. Love it. All right. Next up, we have a rifle, and this is my next door neighbor's. His name is Phil, and this is a Springfield M1A. Now, this one has a synthetic camo stock to it. This one is, I'm not going to say it's sporterized, because everything looks like the military version. We even have the military style flash hider on it. But I think it's kind of set up for hunting. Now, I've never shot an M1A before. And if you don't know, this is essentially the civilian version of the old M14. It's a gun that I've always kind of wanted, especially with the wood stock and the kind of more traditional look to it. So what are my thoughts on it? And by the way, hold on. I forgot to unplug my little refrigerator. So that's going to sound like a hum in the background. Let me unplug that real fast. All right. So what were my experiences with this gun? Well, it kind of was what I thought it was going to be. Heavy and less than ergonomic. I guess I'm just spoiled by modern sporting rifles. And for me, this is a gun that I think was already outdated and obsolete by the time it was adopted. I think it only served the United States military for 6 years, 5 years, 6 years before it was replaced by the M16. It is too big. It is too heavy. And for me, I think the weight, even with the synthetic stock, is the biggest downside to the design. It's based off of the Garand, or the Garand. I know some people will correct me on that. Magazines, of course, are rock and lock. A little bit harder to get in and change out to quick. So if you're used to, a SIG MCX, AR-15, any type of, modern sporting rifle, a little bit antiquated. It's not as smooth as a rock and lock system as an AK. It's overpowered for I'm going to say for like a home defense rifle. But of course, it is .308. It doesn't kick as much as I thought it would. And that could be because of the weight. I actually thought for a .308, very comfortable in the shoulder. So let's talk about how the gun performed. I had no malfunctions, no issues with it. I don't like the controls. We got the safety here in the trigger guard. Told you the rock and lock system. I'm trying to think of what else we have here. Anyway, it was accurate. Well, okay. Let's step that one back for a moment. It was reliable. It was accurate for a while. So I reviewed it first on the little 25-yard range. Okay, I always do that. I know some people are gonna say, "But that rifle can go away from." Yes, it can. Okay, we did go to the 100-yard range with it, but I was just curious what it was like to shoot from the shoulder. Try to shoot it a little bit faster because I can't do that at the 100-yard range. I have to shoot from the bench. So I wanted to shoot it from the shoulder, standing up. It was fine. It was just heavy. It's very front heavy. And I felt tired after shooting it just because of its weight and how unbalanced it is. But the way it felt was fine. I still think the rifle is cool. I think I still kind of want one. It's just not my favorite design. But now let's talk about the accuracy at the 100-yard range. Now, the scope that my neighbor has put on this is a Nikon. Now, I'm going to kind of razz him a little bit on this one because my next door neighbor likes fine things, okay? And he also is really big into optics and lenses when it comes to high-end cameras. He's a photographer, an amateur photographer, does amazing work. He also does astrophotography. He has a lot of money invested in high-end telescopes and celestial, photographic equipment. His work has been published by NASA, and it's quite impressive. So he knows his way around optics, lenses, anything that deals with magnification. And maybe it's because he likes Nikon cameras. He bought this Nikon Pro Staff. It's a it's a 2.5 to 10 scope. I don't know what the objective lens size is. And the reticle is designed for hunting, I guess. It's a second focal plane, so the reticle stays the same size. I'm just going to tell you, I guess I'm spoiled by nicer optics. This optic is not that great. But then shooting it at 25 yards just to zero it in, fine. It was not as good of a group as I was hoping to. And I noticed the more I shot it, the more flyers I had. But I got a decent group at 25 yards. I know some people are going to say, "You were a terrible shot." Man, I'm telling you guys, I can shoot holes through holes with other guns. 50 yards, it was still not performing well for me. And I could not figure out why. Shooting it from the bench, on a rest, really taking my time. And then I discovered something. The optics mount, which I did double check before I went to the range, was loose. So I tightened it up. And by the way, this mount is made by Springfield Armory. So this mount is made by the same people that made the gun. So you would think it's designed to work well. So I tightened it up. Everything's good again. And then I shot at 75 yards. And lo and behold, the group got way better. So I think a lot of my flyers in my larger than desired group with the shorter distances was because the mount was loose. And the more I shot it, the more loose it became. Well, after about 7 rounds at 75 yards, the mount was loose again. And I'm telling you, I have cranked this thing down. I cannot get it any tighter. About 7 rounds later, it's loose again. So I shot it at 100 yards, and I would say my group was probably this, which is quite embarrassing at 100 yards with an M1A. But I'm going to chalk it up to the optic, which is not that great. It's not that clear. I couldn't really dial in the fine focus. And the mount. The mount keeps coming loose, and it's made by Springfield Armory. So the accuracy of this rifle, I think, is there if you can get the scope to stay zeroed and if you have a better optic. So I'm going to kind of razz, as I said, my next door neighbor. He really needs to upgrade the optic on this rifle. A lot. And he knows as well as I do, because I know who he is, I know his interests. He needs to know that whatever you paid for the gun, you need to double that price with the glass. That's what you have to do. Fine optics are worth their weight in gold. They are worth their weight in gold. When I was younger and first getting into guns, I did not appreciate them as much. And now that I've gotten to get behind the trigger of some amazing guns with some amazing optics, they're worth every single penny. Every single penny. You have to get a nice scope for a nice rifle. So I think my inadequacies in accuracy are coming from the mount and the scope. Gun was okay. I'm glad I got to shoot it, because now I know 100% sure I may get one in the future, but I'm not going to be in any rush to get it. And if I never get one, I'm okay with it. It'd be more for just collection purposes than shooting enjoyment purposes, if that makes any sense. I guess the other thing that I don't like about it, and I was kind of curious, you know, you do have the bolt right here. We have this arm or this leg of the carrier. I'm not really sure what it's called, this extension that comes right out of the stock. And you have the texture to hold the grip here, or to hold the stock here. But I find that when the gun cycles, my fingers kind of want to come up and hit that bar. And one time, I think I prevented the gun from going back into battery because of that. But the stock is not big enough for me to get my hands out of the way. The texturing comes right up to where it is. So I know that's just intrinsic to the design. I just have to figure out a better way of holding it. So, yeah. It's antiquated. The controls are not as ergonomic. You can't shoot it as fast. It's not as controllable. I can understand why people hated the M14 and full auto fire. It's heavy. It's okay. I would say in general, this is probably going to get about 3 out of 5 stars. Not bad. I don't hate it. Did it perform bad? It's just obsolete. Okay? So there you go. All right, so let's talk about the optic I was going to review, which was that Nutrec copper tag, which I have on my NS15 AR-15. I think I showed it in the last night's video. When I went to the 100-yard range with this, I'm just going to tell you my luck, is I always get there, and while I'm setting up, I always get the loud talkers that are there to show somebody how to shoot or to train somebody. So I'm sitting in bay 1, and I get everything set up, and this father and son come in. And by father and son, I mean like 60 years old and 40 years old. So they were older. Okay? It's not like it was like a 30-year-old and his teenage son. It was like adults. And it was very obvious to me that the son was kind of a newer shooter, and the dad was training him how to zero in his scope for hunting. Which I can handle it when people are talking and doing other stuff when I'm filming. I like it if it's just me, but when I'm on the 100-yard range, it's more public than the private range where I normally film at. So I just have to deal with the situation. It's normally not bad. Other people are there shooting, whatever. Well, they're in the bay next to me, right where my camera is, set up right here. And because they were not using electronic muffs, they were screaming the entire time. And they were like this, and the dad was looking through binoculars and telling his son, "You're 2 inches." It's like, do you really have to scream? Like, it was so loud. So I tried to film the first segment at 25 yards. I get through 2 or 3 rounds, and they're just screaming. And they see me recording. And I didn't say anything because I don't want to be an ass, okay? I don't want to ruin anyone else's shooting experience. But I always hope that they see what I'm doing and see that when they start yelling and talking, I stop and turn off the camera, that they would just give me the grace of 15 more seconds to let me finish what I'm doing, and then they can talk. But they don't have to. They don't have to. So I get everything set up a couple of times. I try to do this. I waste the shots because they start yelling. So I put the gun to the side. I get out my phone, and I'm just sitting there. like this. And they're like looking at me like why is he sitting there? I wasted an hour of range time waiting for them to finish or to just stop yelling. Now, as I said, it wasn't yelling because they were yelling at each other. It's because they had like hearing protection on and they just needed to hear each other and they felt like they had to talk really loud. Now, at the range that I shoot at, I'm a VIP member, so there's no time limit for me. But for them, they have an hour. And I'm sitting there, I didn't look at them. I didn't say anything. I'm just on my phone. And I know they kept looking over like, why is he just sitting there? And after about an hour, one of the range officers came up and said, your time is about up. You have 5 minutes. And they kept shooting, and they went all the way up to their time until finally the next person that had the bay reserved came in, and finally they realized they had to go. And then the next person came in, just set up his guns, was shooting, and that was it. And I was able to film it. So, but I blew an hour waiting for them, and at that point, it was getting later in the afternoon, and I just didn't feel like setting up and doing that scope review. So I'll probably try to go in the morning and get that thing done. So anyway, so that's just the stories. Sorry, I know it's kind of boring, but let me know what you guys think about the Smith & Wesson 380 Shield EZ and the Springfield M1A and this one here that's kind of set up for hunting with the synthetic camo stock. As I said, if I ever got one, I'd want one in the traditional wood stock. In this barrel length, which is the original barrel length, I wouldn't want to get the, what do they call the shorter one? Is it the tanker or something like that? I forgot. No, SOCOM. No, the tanker is the M1 carbine, isn't it? I don't remember. Yeah, I think it's the SOCOM ones with the shorter barrel. I would definitely not want that one. I'd want this one just with the wood stock and a nicer scope. So sorry, Phil. You got to get a better piece of glass on this because it makes me look like a terrible shot. And I know some of you are already saying, Jason, you are a terrible shot. Well, too bad. Too bad. And I'm hoping to get a mean comments of the week video out tomorrow because, man, I got a couple of mean ones. I was told by somebody in the comments section of one of my videos, all of my reviews are trash tier. Like, they're absolute garbage. I'm like, wow. Why do you even watch my content if you hate me that much? Anyway, so that's all I got for you guys tonight. If you made it to the end of this video, the word of the day is going to be... the word of the day is going to be heavy. Heavy because the M1A is heavy, in my opinion. And that's the biggest thing about this gun I do not like. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And as always, thank you for joining me here in the garage. So, as always, thanks for watching.